welcome to Them Ears, Them Ears. How did you get them ears? A podcast where we focus specifically on ears of the animal kingdom. Robert, Rachel, last time we left off, our homework was to go and feel the ears of feral critters in our respective cities. What ears have you felt since last we spoke?
I didn't feel an ear, but I looked at it, the rat that my dog caught last week.
That's a good
So
ear.
that kind of counts. I would count that personally. I got too
don't
close.
think we've talked about rat ears yet, so that's good. Shark?
Someone told me owls don't have ears, so I've just been catching a bunch of owls and looking for them. My basement's just fucking full of owls.
Excellent. How many owls are you up to?
846. Just
very good.
Yeah,
that's a good amount of owls. I think with
they
that
have ears.
What have your findings brought you to the conclusion of?
How many owls do you have in your basement, Rachel? Huh?
Significantly less.
Do your own research.
I'm sorry. You're the owl expert.
Your own research. No. I have led you astray yet again. That's not what we're talking about here. Our podcast is instead The Right Can't Read, where we look at the oncoming collapse of society and with varying volumes and inflections say, well, today I'd like
excited for today because Aaron looks extra tired.
I don't know why. Like, it's been a very easy week.
Normal Aaron is usually tired. This Aaron is extra tired.
It's like I'm making gumbo for people tomorrow. So I had to go out and get all the stuff, but I forgot some stuff and it's hot outside. And I've been fighting Walgreens website, which is garbage. Walgreens, if you're listening to this, get your shit together. Fucking tired of your website not liking Firefox for some fucking reason. Fuck you.
My favorite genre of things since I've been learning web design is just like harshly critiquing every website I've been on, and everyone around me has loved it.
It's a quality thing. It's Everyone also loves when I complain about browsers that don't function because everyone just fucking designs for Chrome now.
You are like you are in the genre of Firefox, Opera, DuckDuckGo weirdos.
Yeah, well, we're back at Internet Explorer dominating the market, except now it's fucking Google. So congratulations, everyone. We did it again. But today,
I'm an Edge stan.
You're an Edge stan?
Yeah, they call us fine. Edgers.
No, I'm going to kick you from this call now. We're not talking about that. We are talking about things that are downers. So how excited are you to talk about things that are downers?
I'm pumped for our 4th attempt at a palate cleanser episode that will fail miserably.
Like a light downer compared to the other downers.
Yeah, they're. I don't use the Nazi word once.
Dang.
So that's good.
That's something.
It is implied, but it is not used. So the other day, I walked back from a grocery store here in Redacted, and I live in a weird spot, okay? The neighborhood 2 blocks north of me is designated a historic neighborhood, and what that means is that at one point there were covenants in place that kept Black people out of the area. But once that was made...
you wouldn't know they'd ever been lifted.
No. Well, because of this. Once that was made illegal, WASPs desperately needed a way to keep people who didn't look like them out of the neighborhood. So they landed on a thing called historic neighborhoods. Essentially, what that means is they greatly restrict the development of new, predominantly higher density buildings in favor of low density, higher value buildings. This means a couple of things. First, it means that you can have what is, in effect, a gated community right in the middle of a city. Like the neighborhood 2 blocks of me, you can have a vast chunk of the city dedicated to purely high value, low density, mansions that only go up in home value every year, meaning that within that neighborhood, you don't find grocery stores, you don't find anything that's like recreational, aside from stuff that existed back in the 20s.
Or a nice park.
Or a nice park.
Excellent amenities.
Yeah. That's on the edges, like right on the edge, but not in there.
That's true.
And you certainly don't find apartment buildings. I think, though, that there are a couple of condo buildings on the southernmost edge, but who knows? So that means that buying into the neighborhood is both a cost of buying a house, but also the cost of getting around to do things outside of the neighborhood. It is exactly the same sort of thing you find in gated communities in the burbs, but in a city. So you can rest assured that as you're walking your designer dog in your designer athleisure wear, you can see yard signs extolling the virtues of acceptance, praising Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and putting the socially acceptable MLK Jr. quotes on full display.
Fucking
What is it?
Ruth
Like the
Bader-
science is real, love is
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
You keep ranting. I need to go get tea to counter. Yeah, be right back. Keep ranting.
Aaron's doing tea instead of whiskey. I'm worried.
Yeah, something is really off
Yeah,
today.
There's no Guinness, and he's got on a shirt that's a paragraph.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he's not
no.
wearing a button up.
Oh my God, Aaron's in a t-shirt. Somebody help him.
The world is really turning upside down.
I'm really excited for when he listens to this on the recording for my angry signal message.
I'm sorry. I heard angry signal message, and my ears perked up, and I ran back.
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
You'll see.
Oh boy. All right.
I feel like people who unapologetically love Ruth Bader Ginsburg are the left-wing version of people who tell me to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. I have no evidence to support that. They just feel like the same folks.
I think there are similarities. Oh, yeah. So
Just like the unapologetic love of a shit poster
yeah,
is bad on either side.
it is. It really is. Now, the second thing about this, aside from the yard signs, is that it means like the lines drawn around these neighborhoods are arbitrary. And in the course of conversations, I have heard that the historic neighborhood of which I'm speaking was supposed to go all the way down to a thoroughfare, but the lines were drawn by people who didn't actually live in the neighborhood. So they missed the shop by a couple of blocks.
That would be the most Portland thing I've ever
Classic.
heard, though. It's someone
Yeah.
in the West Hills like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah. And this would explain why I live where I live. So back in the 70s, when developers still built apartment buildings that weren't luxury oriented, they crammed as much as they could directly next to that line. And ta-da! Medium density, right next to low density. Further, this means that to the south of me is where you find places that have lower value housing and bits of real estate that, by and large, get ignored. And it's in these spaces where houseless people make camp. And as I walked back from the grocery store, I walked by a few tents. Some of them were in decent shape. One was collapsing. No one in them was having a good time, because no one wants to live like that. And as I walked by, I thought about how the entirety of the redacted city council appears to want to round up the houseless and just put them in camps. It was like they'd heard the Dead Kennedys song Kill the Poor and thought it was solid policy. And then I thought about
Aaron makes his pivot into being a grifter who just posts about how bad Portland has gotten on redacted has gotten on the social media.
Yeah, thank you for correcting yourself.
Yeah, it's just going to be a YouTube video of Aaron walking past these houseless encampments, just furious. A Snickers wrapper. So you were saying Ted Wheeler's right about everything. Please continue.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was saying. That you nailed it.
Yeah.
So after all of this, I thought about how I was walking by another different encampment a while before that and saw in chalk one of the 10 drug abuse comes from trauma, not ethical failing. Then I thought about all of the liberal friends I have who seem to be perfectly fine with the direction the nation is going with regards to the houseless, or if they protest, they do it vocally over brunch in a recently gentrified neighborhood and then do nothing else. And then, as I walked back from the grocery store, a brand new Audi pulled up to the light across the street from me. Driving the Audi was someone who I can only describe as a teenager with a rich boy haircut, rich boy complexion, and a shirt that read Duke Lacrosse.
Oh,
Nice.
no.
In the passenger seat was a girl who likewise oozed affluence. The light changed, and the kid drove the Audi with the uncertain skills of a new driver. And I had one of my 5 Joker moments of that day. You see, earlier that day, my $1,300 a month apartment with the horrible cabinets, chipping bathtub, untrustworthy plumbing, and terrifying electrical wiring became a $1,400 apartment with horrible cabinets, chipping bathtub, untrustworthy plumbing, and terrifying electrical wiring. The landlord cited increased costs and then inflation, which translates to our algorithm told us that we could squeeze another $100 a month out of you and still be considered a steal in Redacted. And you know what? They're fucking right. Because everywhere else around here is at least $100 more a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. God help you if you have a kid and you need to get a 2-bedroom or something. And it's for that reason that I will never own a home. You can't save enough money to afford a down payment because you can't fucking get ahead because everything gets more expensive because the fuckers on the West Hills keep just sucking the dick of every goddamn developer in this fucking city. And it was at that point that I thought about Keith David in They Live. So we're going to talk about John Carpenter's They Live. Are you ready? You ready for a palate cleanser episode about John Carpenter's They Live?
This feels like it's going to cleanse my palate. This feels peaceful.
Already, the energy is wonderful. Yeah.
You have huge, what can only be described as huge coot energy today, and I'm here for it.
So, what do you two know about They Live, John Carpenter, and possibly mostly wrestling?
Well, I love the movies of wrestling, and I John Carpentered in high school. Is that joke track? Was that a funny? Did it work?
You made it funny.
No, I don't know much about wrestling except for what I learned on Behind the Bastards the other week. And John Carpenter, I haven't seen many of his movies except for obviously Halloween. And yeah,
Great movie.
And then I've watched only a little bit of They Live so far. So yeah,
it is the second best Halloween movie.
What's the first best?
Age of the Witch.
I don't know what that is.
Is that Halloween 3?
7.
6?
He has not made all of these movies. So Carpenter made, I think, just the first one. And then he did work on 2 and 3, I think. And then it was uninvolved with the rest of them.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a lot of Halloween movies, including the 2 new ones that came out and I haven't seen.
And then the 2 Rob Zombie ones, which were the new ones before the new ones.
Yeah. He's
He's also not a bad musician.
Rob Zombie's okay. Yeah.
No, John Carpenter.
Oh, yeah. No, John Carpenter's like a great musician.
Rob Zombie is an okay musician.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, no, John Carpenter's music is really fun. It's good stuff. Yeah, Carpenter is, he's been working for a very long time. He's a guy who, directs, writes, does like the heavy lifting for all of his, and he does that. And his spiel is that he just, no one else is going to get it right. And it's cheaper to do that. I think there's more truth in the no one else is going to get it right category that he says first. I don't know about the cheapness. But he's got a lot of really great movies. They Live, The Thing, Halloween, Big Trouble in Little China, Dark Star, which one is one that no one sees, which is a really weird one that he made with the guy who wrote Alien.
Escape from New York.
Yeah, Escape from LA. Not all of them are hits, but
The best part of John Carpenter is that he's totally willing to just make a garbage movie way better than anyone else has ever done it.
Exactly. And he's done that multiple times in his career.
Yeah.
Including Ghost of Mars, which is not a great one, but I name drop later on. So, yeah. So that's my little spiel about, John Carpenter. But he's also remarkable because he was a big fan of wrestling. And he went to WrestleMania 3, where he met Alice Cooper, who appears in a cameo in Prince of Darkness as a possessed homeless man. And then
Alice Cooper.
Or just Alice Cooper. And he also met Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Icon.
Who you may know as the Maniac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Or the Maniac from being Rowdy Roddy Piper.
From being Rowdy Roddy Piper. Yeah. So one of these directors who I like a lot, and
he's one of the only weird, strange, quasi art housey guys who's also mainstream successful.
Yeah, well, because he never really pitches himself as art house.
Yeah,
he always goes out of his way to talk about his stuff in a working director stance and not grand visionary.
Yeah.
And when he approaches trying to talk about politics, as he does in They Live, he is very careful to make sure that he's stressing the fact that he is not a smart man.
Which would be better if everybody did it.
Yeah. Basically, Carpenter's a really stand-up dude who just wants to play video games and watch basketball these days.
Sounds like a decent guy.
Good dude. There's some zombie game coming out that's got his name splattered on it. And he's like, yeah, they call them infested, but man, they're ghouls. Look at them. There's a lot of them, and they explode real good when you shoot them. He's a good dude.
Beautiful.
I like John Carpenter. So, during the late 80s in this country, we had a god king by the name of Ronald Reagan. And I feel that he is the contemporary era's chief bastard. We have had many bastards in our nation's history, but so much of what has gone horribly, horribly wrong in this country can be traced back to Reagan specifically. And one of his campaign ads just lives in my head, and it's the Morning in America speech.
Oh,
Or it's not a speech, it's an ad, but it's basically like, I've got it here. Today, more men and women will go to work than ever before in our country. With interest rates at about half the record highs of 1980, nearly 2,000 families today will buy new homes, more than at any time in the past 4 years. This afternoon, 6,500 young men and women will be married, and with inflation at less than half of what it was just 4 years ago, they can look forward with confidence to the future. It's morning again in America, and under the leadership of President Reagan, our country is prouder and stronger and better. Why would we ever want to return to where we were less than 4 short years ago? It's an ad that hits all of the standard GOP talking points, and Democrat for that matter, that insist that inflation and interest rates are the devil and must be eliminated. It is, of course, ignores the policies that led to loosening of regulations, increased influence of evangelical Christianity, the deaths of thousands of the AIDS crisis, the destruction of social safety nets, and increased militarism. It is, in short, the apotheosis of the Reagan era. And in one of American Psycho's brief moments of lucidity, one of Patrick Bateman's colleagues watches a Reagan speech on a bar's TV and says something to the effect of, "That man is the world's biggest son of a bitch, and he gets away with it because he acts like a kindly grandpa."
I will not hear any American Psycho slander.
No, it's a great movie, but
Okay.
it's not a lucid movie.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Someone else who thought,
all those guys are just Ronald Reagan without being a comforting grandpa figure.
Yeah,
He's just a guy from him. He's just Bateman.
yeah, and it's like you get the sense that the guy who says that is the only one at the table who is not currently on coke.
Yeah.
And someone else who thought that about Reagan was John Carpenter. In an interview with the LA Times, he said, "By the late 80s, I'd had enough and I decided to make a statement as stupid and banal as it is. But I made one, and that's they live." I just love it. Love that it was giving the finger to Reagan when nobody else would.
Hell yeah. Now,
Carpenter is not a political filmmaker, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. He's not like art house. What he does, though, is he plays with the fears of Americans, like collapsing urban centers and escape from New York, or gang warfare and assault on Precinct 13, or the encroaching fear of our history of genocide coming back to bite us in the ass in Ghosts of Mars. Again, it's not a good movie, but he does a bad movie well.
And you can also write endless video essays about the suburban fear of crime, true crime podcasts, and the movie Halloween.
Exactly. Yeah. He has done so much in his career that is just...
Yeah.
So that tracks what they live. So I'm going to go through the plot a bit. I'm going to try to keep it brief. So we're going to see how I do, because I love this movie a lot and I love talking about it. And also Rachel has not finished it. So this is going to be fun. So the film follows a drifter named John Nada as he sidles into Los Angeles from Denver in an attempt to make a living after jobs ran dry back home. It's like a Bruce Springsteen narrator.
Yeah.
So in this movie, Roddy, I'm just going to call him Roddy because I will trip over the full title that he deserves, affects a wholesome kind of like shucks ma'am American charm in the first third of the movie.
I always forget that Roddy Piper is the star of this movie, and it's always such a pleasant surprise.
Co-star Keith David holds up a lot of this movie too.
That's true.
Yeah. So he talks his way into a job on a unionized construction site and makes the acquaintance of Frank, who is played by Keith David, another construction worker who also happens to be homeless. Frank brings Nada to his camp out in a not-so-great part of L.A., next to an Episcopalian church. There, Nada gets a decent meal, an offer to help out around the camp, and a conversation with Frank. Here are the highlights. And Rachel, you can throw on earmuffs if you don't want spoilers, because this Keith David delivers it perfectly.
No, it's okay. I've seen this.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Frank, I have a wife and kids in Detroit. I haven't seen them in 6 months. Steel mills were laying people off left and right. They finally went under. We gave the steel companies a break when they needed it. Know what they gave themselves? Raises. The golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rule.
Mm-hmm.
They close one more factory. We should take a sledgehammer to one of their fancy fucking foreign cars. Nada. You ought to have a little more patience with Frank. Yeah, well, I'm all out. The whole deal is like some kind of crazy game. They put you at the starting line, and the name of the game is to make it through life. Only everyone's out for themselves and looking to do you in at the same time. Okay, man, here we are. You do what you can, but remember, I'm going to do my best to blow your ass away. So how are you going to make it? Nada.
Frank is short for Frederick Engels.
Nada. I deliver a hard day's work for my money. I just want the chance. It'll come. I believe in America. I follow the rules. Everybody's got their own hard times. At the end of his response, so Rachel, can you describe the look that Frank gives Nada at the end of his reply?
I don't know if I remember his exact face, because in my mind, I was thinking this guy is so annoying with that line. Like, I'm just trying to make it and I believe in America and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just.
Well, that is Frank's look.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are several things going on the look that Frank gives him. Like, you sorry son of a bitch. You really believe that?
Yeah.
Another read is like, well, yeah, you believe that because you're white.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot is going on. And shortly after this, Nada sees a pirate broadcast signal come through the camp's TV. And the signal kind of warns anyone watching is that they are being lulled into subservience by an alien species that's taken over power structures all over the world. And I'm going to be just kind of cramming a lot of this movie in, so this is not too much of spoilers, but basically Nada figures out where this broadcast is coming from, and it's coming from the thing, and he stumbles across an operation dedicated to freeing the minds of humanity. They do this first by manufacturing special sunglasses that tune out the signals broadcast by aliens. This, come to find out, allows people to see the subliminal messaging put into every media in the world, as well as see the true face of the aliens. But before that happens, the camp is destroyed by cops as cover for raiding the operation out of the church.
What a crazy science fiction story.
Yeah, well, so it's great. I was listening to the commentary track with Carpenter and Roddy, and Roddy had lived in these situations before and had seen these sweeps. And he was talking about like how this was a hard shoot for him because he had to he went into a bit of PTSD from that. And he's talking about like how it wasn't much more fictionalized than what he'd gone through. And indeed, if you've ever been present at a sweep, it's not good. It's not good for anyone. And you should stop the sweeps, in fact, one might say.
So radical of you, Aaron.
Very radical, yes. So, I think it's pretty similar to what we see daily, almost daily now, in Redacted, but I don't think that the Redacted Police Bureau is dumb enough to beat a preacher to death in the streets in front of people. They might be.
I have literally seen them beat a preacher.
Okay,
really?
I never saw that one, but
Wow.
I'm not
like
surprised.
beat, but like put hands on a preacher.
Okay,
Nice.
they beat a preacher to death in the movie, but yeah. No, there was the interfaith clergy resistance. Yeah, no, they were not treated well by the Redacted Police Bureau. So the next day, Nada finds some sunglasses and he sees the truth of the world. Billboards, ads, magazines, and newspapers send messages reading obey, consume, marry and reproduce, and respect authority to anyone who looks at them under the influence of the signal. But more importantly, he sees that aliens walk among us in the guise of bankers, executive cops, just about every station. For someone who just stumbled onto the truth of the world, he handles it pretty well. He wanders into an upscale grocery store, sees that every person in the grocery store is actually an alien, starts insulting them, And then here's a campaign speech with several nods to the Reagan administration, including the famous Morning in America ad. In direct response to that, Nada, Roddy laughs and says, yeah, it figures it would be something like this. Shortly after, this is when he goes on a bit of a killing spree. He attacks aliens in the street and in a bank before going on the lam, reuniting with Frank for a minutes-long alleyway brawl in an attempt to force the glasses on Frank, and then joining the human resistance against the aliens. After they do that, their resistance thing is attacked by cops, and Nada and Frank zap themselves into an alien facility using devices. There, they chance upon a banquet celebrating the success of the alien plan. Aliens and their human collaborators rejoice in being able to pull one over on humanity and make bank doing it. As Nada and Frank sit in the back of the room, they see one of the camp members they recognize, and he recognizes them. And then he gives them a tour of the facility, leading them right to the place where the aliens broadcast the master signal that keeps humans asleep.
Wait, the person that they saw in the camp, is he an alien?
No, he's a collaborator.
Oh, okay. So still human, but...
Yeah. So Nada and Frank turn on him. He tries to convince them to join the aliens by saying, well, what's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team. And that is a line delivered to Carpenter by a studio executive who read the script and didn't understand why the aliens were a threat.
Wow.
Jesus Christ, that's awesome.
So then that guy escapes.
Can you imagine? That's a genre. That's like, so reading the script and they live and being like, seems like they're good for the economy is just everything I hate about the world.
Well, and then can you imagine being that guy? Like, if you see that movie and you recognize that line that you said, the Carpenter?
That man will not recognize that he said that. That is a fleeting instance that made him no money. He does not remember it.
That'd be cool if he did, though.
Yeah, yeah, we would live in a more poetic and just world if he did. But
yeah,
no, guaranteed. So why I think this movie fucking was, aside from Roddy Piper being surprisingly charismatic and Keith David being as awesome as he ever is primarily because it has a central, simple message. The people who make the most money are ghouls, and they want to benefit themselves at the expense of everyone else. And the movie, climate change, houseless camp sweeps, intra-class fights, and so much more are caused at the root by a species that knows how to manipulate. It is, again, a simple takeaway brought about by John Carpenter's anger about yuppies in Reagan's America. The movie, in his and many others' words, is not sci-fi, it's a documentary. People like Zizek, how do you pronounce the man's name?
Slavoj Žižek.
Thank you. Slavoj. That's what I thought it was. Zizek.
You're nasty.
So he goes on these big old speeches about this movie, about like the glasses in the movie representing like the removal of ideology and very...
It's in his documentary Pervert's Guide to Ideology, which is a great watch if you're into Ukrainian men. Yeah, I don't know if he's Ukrainian. No, Eastern European men just yelling.
I think he's Slovenian, but I'm not sure.
He just yells incoherent nonsense in a vaguely Eastern European accent.
Yeah, and I've been told by multiple people that I should check out, but
he's fine.
Yeah. And
philosophy.
My thing is about this specifically, and I get the feeling all of this is how I would feel about a lot of what he says, is that it's just gilding the lily.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Fancifying stuff when it's really simple to explain.
Oh, okay.
So when John Nada puts on the glasses, he's able to see through the signal and see the truth about the world. And that alone is a huge metaphor without trying to bring in Marxism or whatever ideology you want to talk about. And the metaphor of putting on the glasses is something that should hit home to anyone who has tried to argue with anyone else about what sorts of changes are needed in the world. For me, the one that stands out most solidly is a series of arguments I had recently with people in Redacted about the eviction representation bill. It was a bill on a ballot in a midterm election that would have provided funds to pay for guaranteed eviction representation in court at the cost of capital gains taxes. It was shot down solidly by like a fucking 3-1 margin.
This is the third episode in a row, Aaron.
I'm so fucking pissed at this city and every goddamn liberal city that is just sitting by as massive amounts of people are rendered houseless while they also just do everything they can to kill those people. And every argument I had felt like the fucking scene in They Live where Roddy Piper and David fight in an alleyway for 8 fucking minutes. Sorry,
Yep.
you were saying something.
I was trying to have a conversation about this with my sister where I was like, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are like politically like inches apart on the full political spectrum. Like they're the same dude. Like not in the sense that one of them isn't worse than the other. Like, effectively Trump's worse. But like we have 2 degrees of the like political pie chart represented. And like the difference between fucking Selma, Alabama and redacted Oregon is just fucking inches.
Yeah, the Venn diagram is nearly one circle.
Yeah. With like nice yard signs on one edge that's not on the other, and then like plan shit.
Yep. Don't tread on me.
Yeah.
On the other,
And that's the only thing that doesn't overlap entirely.
It's a difference of aesthetics at a certain point. It's like the Republicans are going to stab you in the throat. Democrats are going to stab you in the back, but they're going to tell you that they're doing it to help everyone as you bleed out because you don't have health insurance anymore because it's tied to your employer and you're unemployed because they laid you off because they put AI into your fucking job now.
Oh God, I was talking to my sister about AI today and she's like, do you think it's going to take people's jobs? And I was like, no, I think it's going to fucking ruin your Amazon order. Like it's going to take away data entry jobs. And then
it's already, it's studios are starting to use it to like green light shit. And
no, I mean, they made that whole fucking intro trailer thing.
Yeah. No, this is what
I need to watch that.
No, you don't.
No.
Don't watch
it. Not worth it?
Don't give Marvel more fucking things.
Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you saw it and then are telling me not to see it.
No. No.
Okay.
It's like Secret Wars. Just go read the comics if you want to go check that out. Like it's probably going to be better. But
I was so pilled on AI when it started, and I was like,
yeah, I know we just
might
released
be cool.
that episode,
and I'm just like more and more disappointed
I was
with
waiting
it
for
every time I use it.
Yeah, I was re-listening to
like attack and dethrone truth.
Yeah,
and we're just gonna make worse Captain America movies.
What did I fucking say during our internet episode? And I was re-listening to that, and I thought, oh, Shark's gonna.
Can we do something cool for once?
No.
One time.
No,
it always gets ruined.
Everything gets co-opted. What is our podcast about, Shark?
I just wanted it to destroy the New York Times instead of the Writers Guild. But
I know, so close.
Fucking moron. Never have hope.
Never have hope. Yeah. Instead of it being a Joker moment, this is my Rowdy Piper.
This is the exact point I make in this movie, in this script about the movie. See, didn't misspeak. So it's like we as a species, we are hardwired to ignore the things that give us the bummers that lead us down these kind of conversations. And I'm sure about this. I think this is the simplest explanation for why people who claim to be compassionate would bug out and become reactionary when they are asked to sacrifice, say, a future portion of a home sale if it means getting people protection from being evicted from their fucking homes. This is also the simplest explanation for why those same people would acknowledge why our country is completely failing vast swaths of the population, but bounce immediately off of the need to do literally anything, even just fucking mailing in a piece of paper or look up the stance of people on that piece of paper. Acknowledging that changing things for the better takes work and sweat and tears, that's a bummer, and we as a species, we don't want that. We want to sell out a little bit and get on the winning team.
Wait, you know what this reminds me of a little bit?
Yeah.
The submarine.
I fucking hate this story.
We were talking about this last night, Rachel.
Don't get me goddamn started on this story.
I think everyone at the table was, I don't know, I was toasted at that point, so I just assumed that everyone agreed with me when I said, who cares? They're business people.
We do all agree. Yes.
Yeah.
My fucking
CEO who hated safety regulations fucking killed himself and 5 other people who were all rich assholes. So
my sister was like, what do you think about all this? And I was like, every dead billionaire is good. That seems harsh. Who cares?
A friend of mine was like getting bummed out that one of them was only 19. And I said, your Christian compassion will be your undoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
So
of
all
young
of
bastards in the
yeah.
world.
Oh yeah. So all of this, not the submarine thing, but everything around it, makes me think of another thing, and this is about like hustle culture
Oh,
and about the incredibly disturbing trend to brand our lives as content. And like back in 2012, I knew a guy who was struggling to be an actor, right? And he wasn't getting anywhere until he started getting gigs in commercials. Except he wasn't referring to them as commercials. He was referring to them as sponsored content.
Oh no.
And back then I thought, well, that sounds awful.
12. Wow.
Yeah.
Early days.
Yeah. And back then I thought, well, that sounds awful, but I didn't really think more about it. But now we live in a world where giant movie stars record ads for commercials they're in. Behind the scenes looks at shooting a fucking commercial. How fucked up is this? We also live in a world where kids on Instagram fake sponsorships from companies in order to get real sponsorships from other companies. And companies' ads have become this horrible style where it's like something out of a fucking snuff film, where someone is like looking into their phone camera wide-eyed and like unblinking, and they're like, "Hey guys, I need to talk to you about an amazing new product that changed my life." And it's, you can't hear it because they're using their phone and their mic needs to be cleaned, and it's just for fucking clout, and it's all for fucking clout. We've been turned into a society of fame chasers because the alternative is a drudgery at 9 to 5s, and it's all fucking exhausting because that's the goddamn point. You can't be a good consumer if you're not exhausted, and exhausted people are easier to pitch bullshit to. We live in an economy that thrives on bullshit. And I promised Shark that we wouldn't spend much time on rants or digressions episode. So I'll stop, and I won't rant about how now selling out is just fucking embraced.
I mean, I have to go in like 5 minutes ish. So go ahead. Finish your rant.
No. I'm gonna try to get through the script. So look.
We're never gonna get through it in 5 minutes.
No, we're almost there. I swear to God. The point is, as with so many things in our podcast, that art should make you feel things, right? Carpenter's They Live is not a vast critique of the capitalist system, as well as a pitch of how to fix it. It is a primal scream of an angry man who looks around at the world and, like Howard Beale in Network, shouts, "I'm mad as hell." And if we had more time, I'd talk about how society needs to put on the goddamn glasses or start eating the trash can. Or how those of us on the left need to say, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I am all out of bubblegum." But we don't have that time. We don't have that time. Shark has to leave in like 5 minutes. Ostensibly, this is a palate cleanser episode. So instead, I'll just say that this movie and others like it are great opportunities to get out a primal, cathartic shout. Sure, it may have been co-opted by some heinous fucking people, leading to Carpenter having to reiterate on multiple occasions throughout the years that it is, in fact, about yuppies and greed and not about Jews. But that does not mean that it does not fucking rule. Rowdy Roddy Piper, being a guy whose brain was literally broken by a lifetime of wrestling, leading him to becoming a conspiracy crank and buddies with Alex Jones, does not take away from his charm in this movie, or in real life, or the way he works well with Keith David. Because sometimes you just need a primal scream, but you shouldn't let that be the end point. Like John Nada, you should take action and help people out of the destructive cycle of greed, deprivation, and yes, selling out that has become the norm of this world. So I want to end on a single question. Shark, Rachel, which of you is going to put on these glasses and which of you is going to eat that trash can?
I feel like this was your Kennedy assassination moment on this podcast. I saw an unhinged craziness in your eyes that I can only describe as incredibly hot.
That's the first time anyone has said that about me, so thank you.
Oh man, and we didn't even go into the whole Instagram bot farm
No,
thing.
it's terrible. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Everything is a goddamn travesty in this world. So that's your palate cleanse. Do you feel cleansed?
Great.
Feeling good, guys?
Oh god.
And I think this may be the first episode that's gone well under 90 minutes.
I know, you kept it. This is a tight 45.
There you go. So with that, what are your closing thoughts, and which of you is going to eat the goddamn trash can?
Oh, I mean, yeah. All the John Carpenter movies are good. Watch
Yeah.
them
They're all
all.
great.
And just remember that, like, Ronald Reagan couldn't functionally dress himself at the end of his presidency,
Did not.
which is not a knock on people who can't dress themselves, but presidents.
Yeah.
None of us are qualified for that job.
No
That's
one
true.
should have that job.
Yeah.
That should be an AI.
Yeah,
It should
that
be a machine
Yes.
that you feed in yes or no questions to, and it goes yes or no.
I like it.
Magic 8
Yeah.
Ball for president.
Magic 8 Ball for
Yes.
president. I think that's it. So,
It's the
listener,
most fair way to do it.
everyone in the next election, write in Magic 8 Ball for Earth.